Hello, NFL fans, and welcome to our inaugural week of NFL Chat, brought to you by www.sports-kings.com. I'm Andy Flint, along with me today, Ani Judd, or John Judd, as I call him.
Hello, everybody. I'm John Judd. Follow me on Twitter at JJ_SK28.
Also with us, we have Cody White, C-Dub on the streets.
What's up, guys? I'm Cody White. Follow me on Twitter at WLater. On the Twitter machine there where you tweet and you do little twat tweeters.
I don't know if you can say twat tweeters on the air. So it was, the first week of the NFL season, the 2014-15 NFL season. We had a lot of good action. There was a lot of good upsets this first week. We're not going to talk so much Ray Rice, but we're going to talk about the NFL's reaction to Ray Rice, or Rodger Goodell's lack of action with the Ray Rice saga here. Everybody knows that, he knocked out his then fiance. She's now his wife in the elevator. We saw the tape of him dragging her out a few months back. Now we've seen the tape of him actually, laying down the Kimbo slice on top of her head. The spitting on her afterwards, that kind of stuff. Beautiful things. I feel like that's a marriage that's going to last.
That's the man I want to marry my daughter. For sure.
So what we're going to talk about is this blowback a little bit. Now, Rodger Goodell, Harbaugh, the Ravens organization, everybody's denying ever knowing about the actual tape from inside the elevator. They're all claiming they never saw it. We talked about this. I said on social media that, the NFL would have to be hammered drunk to believe that I would believe them, saying they didn't see this. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar corporation not having the clout to pull off getting this tape, but TMZ, who's a media gossip type website, can get it without any trouble. What's happened now is you have a law enforcement agency, or a law enforcement agent, an unnamed man who the Associated Press is claiming said he sent the tape to Goodell and the NFL. In their office, there was a voicemail left by somebody in the office, and this was back in April. The hotel in question is also claiming that they would have given the tape to Goodell had he asked. These are problems. John, your thoughts on Goodell and the NFL dictatorship?
I don't understand how Rodger Goodell still has a job. Like, when did it all come out? A couple of days ago? He should have been fired the same day. It's ludicrous to me that they're trying to play off that they never saw this video. Of course they have. Like you said, the casino said they give them the tapes. There's a voicemail in the NFL offices, saying that they received the tape. I think they actually have the secretary that got it on tape saying, "Thank you. Oh my God, I can't believe he did that."
Yeah,
it's ridiculous to me that Rodger Goodell's still in power there in the NFL. And not even just this, just the way he's handled everything since he's taken over from Tagliabue. No, I'm not a big Rodger Goodell guy.
I don't think there's many people left that are big Rodger Goodell guys. I mean, I think it is a little harder than to say fire him that day. I kind of share the sentiment with you, but it's going to take a few days. The owners are going to have to figure this out. The union, they're going to have to vote, and ultimately, I do feel like they do need to do their due diligence to make sure they get this right, since the domestic violence thing, the Ray Rice thing, has been handled just completely wrong from the start. Cody, your feelings on your boy Goodell?
This is just another slip-up in a long list of his career slip-ups that he's just done. I mean, he's made the NFL soft, and we're all getting to the point where we're worried that in 20 years football is going to be pretty much nothing because of Goodell. And it's just another huge slip-up. Obviously, he saw the tape. He had to have seen the tape. You don't get that kind of evidence given to you and say, "Oh, I'm not going to watch it just because I don't want to watch it." I believe this. He saw it. I think it's the Giants and the Ravens owner have actually investigated into how Rodger Goodell and the NFL handled the evidence and if they got it right or wrong. So, I mean, that could take weeks, the way the NFL works, do we actually find out. So I think Goodell he's probably safe for at least, a few more weeks of the season. But once it all comes out, and, he retracts his statement. That's right, I did see it. Oh, I forgot. Just saw it on my phone or something. Once that comes out, because it's going to happen. It's going to be found out. I mean, it's already the voicemail. It's already the cop that sent it. It's going to happen. Once that happens, and he'll be gone, and we'll hopefully be getting back to an old school type commissioner that we can actually, watch good football again.
I don't think we're ever going to watch good football again. I feel like that's the way of the way. This is America.
Well, we can pray, can't we?
We can't pray. And I do think it's going to take a little time. They got to do their due diligence, like I was saying before. Next part of this question, because this is going to be along the same lines, is what do you guys think of this suspension thing? Because at first it was 2 games for Ray Rice. Without seeing the tape of him hitting her, well, I mean, we're all under the impression that the NFL probably did see the tape. But either way, knowing that he knocked her out and they give him a 2-game suspension, and then after the fact they make the new laws are 6-game suspension first-time offense, lifetime ban for the second-time offense, and now they're saying forget the 2-game suspension, forget the 6 games, forget the rules we're saying we have and we uphold here, and now you're just indefinitely. I don't even know what indefinitely means for Ray Rice in this situation. Cody, what do you think about the I'm not saying what do you think Ray Rice deserves. I'm saying what do you think the NFL is supposed to do with him right now?
Well, like I said before, it wasn't a matter of, we handled this and that, they saw the tape finally. It was the people saw the tape the first time, yes. So the NFL had to react to that, and how they reacted to it was completely wrong. I'm sorry, the guy should have been suspended for a year to begin with, but I mean, obviously he wasn't. But after you already suspend him, you can't go back. To me, I mean, it's not legally considered, but it's double jeopardy. You can't re-suspend the guy. You already gave him his punishment. You already had his punishment. That's like saying, all right, Josh Gordon, I gave you a year for weed. I'm giving you another year just because, there's a videotape you was smoking it now. I mean, it's kind of – I feel like it's double jeopardy. It's not handled right. It's literally just them trying to, save face is all they're trying to do. Get some way out there where, okay, well, we saw it. We didn't see the tape. Now we have. It's way worse now, which to me it's not way worse. It's just as bad. It's even worse that you're suspending them after you saw the tape. You should have known beforehand. So it's just them trying to save face, and it's handled completely wrong. This is a big mess.
John, your thoughts, man, on the Ray Rice, the suspension.
I think, like Cody said, I think this should have been the initial suspension. Suspended indefinitely, cut ties, fine him a gratuitous amount of money. Whatever the NFL can do, the worst possible thing the NFL could do, they should have did it to begin with, just to set an example. And it's just, I think, obviously Ray Rice is done forever. He's never going to take another snap. I think it was Kraft, the owner of the Patriots. He was on Good Morning America a couple of days ago saying that he doesn't think he'll ever play in the NFL again. And he shouldn't. I mean, I don't know. I think the thing that bothers me the most about this entire story is his wife, still sticking by his side. She should just, she should pull an NFL right now and just be like, no, see ya, bye.
Bad woman syndrome, John.
Come again?
That's called bad woman syndrome.
Well, what are you going to do?
Or he's got a lot of money.
I wanted to go back and talk about the last thing we talked about. I'm kind of viewing this as what was it, Bud Selig and the steroid era thing. He was never released, though. So I'm thinking that it's probably going to be the same way. He's always going to have this black cloud over him, but he's never going to be gone. So
I don't see my thing with the suspension here to Ray Rice is, I mean, first and foremost, I do want to say that I don't condone domestic violence in any way. I mean, to me, seeing the videotape, honestly, I know everybody processes things a different way, and everybody's not the same as me. But to me, I wasn't surprised because I knew what happened in the elevator. I had no delusions that Ray Rice knocked her head off with a right hook or a left hook or whatever. I don't. To me, I think the NFL's in trouble here because they said 2 games. I think maybe they could have said, hey, instead of 2 games, maybe we'll go to the 6 games. Just because that's our new rule. But either way, I think you're going to have a problem. I think even if they went from 2 to 6, he was going to have a lawsuit, or the players' union's going to have a lawsuit. Now he might be looking at, maybe not only trying to have a lawsuit against the NFL, but maybe the Ravens too, because now they've released it.
He's going to make bank off it too.
If it comes out that the Ravens knew about the video, they saw that videotape, if it ever comes out, Ray Rice has got them dead to rights. And I'm not saying it's right that he does, because the guy should be sitting in jail right now as far as I'm concerned. But he's going to have a field day with this because now he's going to be like, how can you go with the NFL to suspend me for 2 games when you saw the videotape, and then when everybody else saw the videotape, you're trying to cover your hide and now you're cutting me, and now the NFL is suspending me. I mean, as sick of a human being as I feel Ray Rice is, I think the NFL needs to not suspend him indefinitely. He needs to be suspended through this next week, and then he's a free agent. Whoever wants him can pick him up, that type of thing. I mean, obviously the Ravens have walked away from him, which is great. He didn't do anything last year anyway.
And seeing the reaction from teams and players and coaches, because I've been doing interviews with everybody.
Yeah,
I don't think he'd get picked up. I think he's been blacklisted from the NFL, even if he wasn't suspended indefinitely.
Sure, but that's another reason the NFL needs the opportunity for him to be denied on his own, instead of them having some big issue, because they're going to be at fault here now.
Yeah.
Anything else on the Rodger Goodell, Ray Rice NFL saga here, or are you guys ready to move on?
I'm ready to move on.
All right, let's talk about the Buffalo Bills, because nobody circled. No, I'm not going to do that. The Buffalo Bills, $1.1 billion. Going to stay in Buffalo. Cody, I'm going to let you open on this one again because you're our resident Bills fan. Let's hear about it.
Well, this one makes me one happy little camper. Obviously, everybody knows Ralph died. Ralph Wilson, the owner of the Buffalo Bills, died early this year. And it's been in doubt where the Bills are going to be, who's going to own them. Comes out, Terry Paguglia, the owner of the Buffalo Sabres, put in the record bid for the NFL team, $1.1 billion. And pending the NFL owners agreeing to it, he's going to be the new owner, which is a gigantic thing for Western New York. I mean, people don't understand from outside of Western New York how big Buffalo Bills football is in upstate New York. It is, I mean, it's huge, and it brings a lot of money to Buffalo, a lot of money to upstate. I'd read that Terry Paguglia, since he's been a Sabres owner, has put in $20 million in the waterfront. That's just making money in Buffalo, putting it right back in the economy. So, I mean, that's good for everything. I mean, I can't
like
be
Steven
happier.
Jackson in a strip club with the city of Buffalo.
And then top it off, it's home opener this week. It's going to be crazy at the Ralph.
It is. Before we cut over to John here, I do want to say that the three of us here, John's from Seattle originally. You can see that ugly blanket in the background. But he lives here in Western New York. The three of us, Cody and I, born and raised in Western New York. Cody's a Bills fan. I'm not, but I agree that it's great for the every part of New York that's not New York City, essentially, especially here in the western part of New York. And if you don't believe the Buffalo Bills have a great fan base, come to the Ralph, come watch a game. You'll see that it's probably one of the most diehard fan bases in the NFL, win or lose. John Judd, your thoughts on the Bills sale, staying in Buffalo?
I want to agree with you. First of all, I feel like if you rank the fan bases, they got to be in the top 5. I think Buffalo has probably one of the best fans, but minus the 12th man. But I think it's a great thing for the NFL that the Bills are going to stay in Buffalo. I think Rodger Goodell, sitting on his giant mountain somewhere, really wanted them to go to Toronto for the international exposure, but it's the NFL. It's the National Football League. It's not the International Football League, and I think it's wonderful for Buffalo fans that don't have a lot going for them sports-wise. I think it's great that you guys are going to be here forever. Hopefully, you got at least another 20 years.
We're undefeated.
Maybe you guys can win to make it to the playoffs this year, like in the next 10, 15 years.
Cody, you got to have a rebuttal for that.
No, I'll just let my players, my team do the talking when we go undefeated this year. Be the Seahawks.
So what I want to say about
that doesn't mean it.
What I want to say about the city of Toronto is I do think that the city of Toronto could eventually get an NFL team. I think they deserve an NFL team, just like I think the city of Los Angeles will get and does deserve an NFL team. But it's not the Bills. I want to just recount a few years ago, I'm a Lions fan. I went to a Lions-Bills game at Ralph Wilson in Buffalo. The Bills were 0-5. They had started the season when that game took place, and they won 14-12 over my Lions. It was terrible for me. But I've never seen a sports stadium that alive. Everybody stood the whole time, banging on the metal benches. You couldn't hear anything. I mean, it was madness. So I challenge anybody who hasn't been to a Bills game, who doesn't think the Bills have a great fan base, to come to the Ralph and experience all of the madness and glory. Let's move on to our third topic, NFL injuries. We had a few big ones. We're not going to highlight every injury that happened during Week 1. We're going to highlight some of the bigger ones. We'll jump right into Colts linebacker Robert Mathis. John, kick us off on Robert Mathis. He had 19.5 sacks last season. He's getting a little older, but he went out there and decided to bust up his Achilles tendon, and now he's going to miss the season. And actually, it's good to note that he wasn't even playing the game. He did it working out or whatever. John?
Yeah, he busted his Achilles out for the season. Training. That just shows me personally that he doesn't have a good work ethic. I know he got 19.5 sacks last season, but I got that you tear your Achilles training. And what was he training on? Well,
he's like 33 years old.
Yeah.
Come again?
He's like 33 years old. I mean, if that makes any difference.
4 years older than me. I've never torn my Achilles. I've never.
Yeah, but you don't. Yeah, but you're not a 6'3", 250-pound linebacker who plays in the NFL.
Why do you got to get my secrets away, Flint?
I'm just saying, man. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to believe. All right, speak on.
But I think that's a huge hit for the Colts. He was already missing 4 games because he got caught doing drugs. I think that's a terrible thing for the Colts. They already have a suspect defense. It's going to be worse now without ever having him for the rest of the season. I still think the Colts are going to be just fine, though. They're just going to give up a lot of points, but luckily they got a really dynamic offense, except for a running game. It's kind of, but they got the recipe to put up points. So I think it's going to be a shootout every game, but I still think they'll be all right.
I think it's worth noting too that their defense in the second half, particularly against probably the team we assume will have the Denver Broncos, they did pretty well that second half. The first half was a little shaky, but I thought the defense recovered in the second half. And you're right, John. I mean, they're going to be an offensive team. Maybe the Mathis injury doesn't kill them. Cody, your thoughts on Mathis?
It's a huge loss. I mean, it's the leading sack guy last year. I mean, who's going to rush passer now? Who's going to get to the passer? Give the corners a little break on passing routes. You couldn't really, if you're the Indianapolis Colts, you couldn't lose a bigger player on defense. I don't think, and they're going to have to really put up points, like Denver points, to make it worthwhile, because they're not going to be able to stop anybody. And they don't, like John said, there is no running game there. I mean, it's going to be a lot on Andrew Luck's shoulders this year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was going to be on Luck's shoulders anyways, because I think they do need to be an offensive juggernaut. But, well, I mean, we'll see, obviously. DeQuil Jackson better step it up a little bit. So let's go to the next topic at hand, and that's the next injury is, who do I have? Eddie Lacy, concussion, Thursday night against John Seahawks. I think it happened in the third quarter. Seems like Lacy's okay, though. I know he passed the first initial tests. But what does this do for the Green Bay Packers if Lacy's not ready to roll this week? We'll go to you first, Cody.
All right, well, it's good to mention that it's his second concussion in the calendar year, which in the NFL is a gigantic blow. I mean, that's scary bad. I mean, like you said before, that C word, concussion. You don't want to say it too loud.
Not the C word women don't appreciate.
Yes. Good thing women don't watch this show. Anyways, so it's gigantic, like, for his career. It's not just about the Packers. I think it's more career-wise. He might have to change up his running game a little bit, not be the hard-knock rusher that he once was. This week, I got that he passed his second round of tests last night, so I think he probably will play. I mean, how much I use him, I don't know. I have my fantasies, I hope a lot. But, I mean, the backup's James Starks. He's not a bad runner. But it's huge. This is a gigantic loss if he gets, one more concussion in this season could probably end his career, honestly, if you think about it. So I think the Packers have to, give it to James Starks a little more than normal.
Well, I think that this week is a perfect opportunity to do that. It's their home opener at Lambeau against the New York Jets, and I know the Jets are 1-0. They beat the Raiders last week, but maybe they can get Starks in an increased role and kind of test the waters with Lacy a little bit, kind of play him as a need, because I don't think they need Lacy to beat the Jets. John Judd, your thoughts? I mean, you obviously watched this game too.
I think if you're going to talk about the game, the story about that game is the Seattle overwhelming defense.
I mean, even as a Seahawks fan, is it, was it more of the defense for his concussion, or do you think it has something to do with his running style? I mean, he does have that.
I think it's his running style. Obviously, he has a history. It wasn't Seattle knocking him around. He has a history with concussion.
I mean, it doesn't help when you have guys like Cam Chancellor out there. Cam Chancellor, what he did last week was like he just killed people all game.
Yeah. Well, he does that every game, so I'm just saying, go see.
But that game in particular, I happened to notice it, I guess.
But no, I think if he wants to stick around and have a long career, he's got to change his running style. I think honestly, the Green Bay Packers need to probably draft another running back and go to a 2 running back system and have Eddie Lacy turn into more of a Jerome Bettis type player. He's dynamic though when he's healthy. I just don't think he can stay healthy, and it sucks because he's a great player and he's so young.
And just a note on that, Cam Chancellor had like 11 total tackles last week. He was all over the place. That guy is a hit stick magician. So I think they don't need to draft somebody though, because they already have Starks, and I think Starks is kind of the perfect complement to Lacy. He's the night to Lacy's day. He's good at catching the ball. He's quicker. But yeah, it does concern me because I don't think Green Bay's ever gonna, not at least right now, they're not gonna say, hey, we'll use him in the Jerome Bettis fashion. Not that I think that's a bad idea, but I think it's hard to use a guy like that and say, hey, we're going to run him 10 snaps a game, goal line, short distance type of stuff. I mean, he's too dynamic. Let's go to the next injury. Jadeveon Clowney, Houston Texans' #1 pick, the #1 overall pick. Supposed to do big things on that line this year, and now he's torn his meniscus, and he's slated to miss 4 to 6 weeks. John, what do you think?
I think the Texans are going to be just fine, honestly. They got J.J. Watt. I mean, what else do you need? But it sucks though. They're going to hurt a little
quarterback?
bit. Come again?
A quarterback?
Yeah, they don't have a quarterback. Well, they got what's his name? Ryan Mallett. Eeks. But no, I think that defense is going to be. They're going to be fine without him. But when they come back, I really do. I think the Texans are going to be my sleeper team. I think people are overlooking how bad they're looking at how bad they were last season and looking how good they could be this season with a healthy team. It's just like Seattle. What you need is 2 guys on the outside rushing the quarterback. That'll make the running game better. That'll make the passing game better. Now you just got J.J. Watt, so it's going to suffer a little bit. When he comes back, I really do think that Connie's going to be one of the top players in the league for years to come. I think he's going to be the defensive rookie of the year, and I don't think this is a huge thing for him.
Let's go to Cody because I feel like Cody has a different perspective on Clowney. But
yeah, I mean, as much as the injury sucks being the #1 overall pick and, that money they spent on him, now he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks, I'm not sold on Clowney at all. Yeah, he was a great college player, but college has played a lot slower than the NFL. He had a decent preseason and got some second-string scrubs that, didn't really matter.
But if we're basing it off preseason, that's how we judge everybody.
Well, you
right?
have to judge Clowney on preseason because he's a rookie. He hasn't had an NFL career yet. You have to base it off.
Well, that's what I meant. I didn't mean we're judging Peyton Manning on preseason. I mean, any young players, even second-year guys.
I mean, you have to when he gets hurt in the first 4 to 6 or second quarter of the game he got hurt, something like that. So we have no Clowney time in real NFL speed time. I'm not sold on the guy. I don't think he's proven to me yet he could be a top D end in this league. I think he has the ability maybe to do it and the athleticism. I remember his combine, watching his combine, he was just lazy about stuff. Not really, just kind of like, I'm obviously going to be #1 pick, so I don't got to work too hard. And that was an issue that a lot of coaches had said that they didn't like about him, is that he didn't have that.
He did forfeit his final year in college, basically, so he wouldn't get hurt. I mean, there's the karma.
Right?
Yeah. What, John?
He was coming off of surgery during the combine too, wasn't he? He was still rehabbing, I thought.
No, I think he was good to go. Because he still did the combine. He said that it was lackadaisical about it. I think. I know he did it, but I mean, I'm just not sold on the guy. I think he needs maybe some more. I'm not saying he couldn't be. He could be, the next Reggie White or something. I don't know, but right now I need to see something. I don't think this is a huge blow for the Texans. I think J.J. Watt has pretty much got that line of control. I mean, he's gonna draw the double teams, so it's gonna open up the other DNs on the team to get there. So, and I do agree with John. Texans, I think, are going to be a sleeper team this year. They're going to sneak in the playoffs somehow. And it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, by the way, who's quarterback, and not Ryan Mallett.
Arian Foster had looked good in week 1. I mean, that's obviously you're talking a guy 2 years ago was considered like a top 3 back in the league. So I mean, he was probably considered a top 10 offensive player. So that's obviously going to help them. As far as Clowney, I think I agree with John. Overall, I think he's going to be a stud. I'm pretty sold on the kid. And I did have him winning Defensive Rookie of the Year, but I I don't know now if he missed 4 to 6 weeks. I don't think it's going to happen.
And I mean, honestly, who's he with a name like he's got? The name he had come in here. Of course, he's probably going to win. There's no huge other defensive rookies this year.
Well, I think you give Shazer from Pittsburgh looks like he's going to be an animal. So he's obviously my first thought.
But I always have an issue with those things because Clowney comes in here with this huge name. He was the #1 overall pick.
Sure.
He had that huge play in college where the tackle, the fumble recovery, and touchdown that he did. He comes into the NFL with a gigantic name, so everybody's already looking at him. When somebody like Shea doesn't get the he's got to earn just to get to Clowney's point first, and then go above him. Where Clowney's already at. So I kind of rookie of the year doesn't really mean too much to me for defense.
All right, so let's jump into what do we got? We have 2 left here. Derek Johnson from Tampa Bay, linebacker. He's going to be
Kansas City
linebacker. My fault. He's going to be out for the season. We have another linebacker, much like Robert Mathis. It's the same thing. It's his Achilles. What's going on with these Achilles? John, let's go to you first, John. What's up with the Achilles injuries? I mean, we have 2 Pro Bowl caliber linebackers here, both with Achilles injuries, both going to miss significant time. The Chiefs had that good defensive stand last season, and I feel like it's going to crumble now. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess the new fad is Achilles. I guess RG3 kind of made the ACL, MCL injuries kind of stupid now. So I guess that's a new thing.
It's all the rage.
Leave it to Bob.
Stupid Bob. Yeah, no, it's terrible for that Chiefs defense. They looked bad last week. They're going to look bad this week. They're going to look bad every week. They don't have much going for them anywhere on that team anymore. They lost Flowers. He's not on the team anymore. The only Castles or Alex Smith. It's just who cares about the Chiefs? They're awful, and I don't think really with that linebacker, Derek Johnson. I don't think he would have done much for that team anyway. That team is in shambles.
Well, I mean, I think he would have done something. He was probably the best.
He would have done something individually. I don't think he really would have impacted the team that much, though. I think he would have had a great season.
Sure. I mean, I
don't think he would have made that team a number 1 team.
I don't think they would have been number 1, but I still think they could have been like a top 5 defense. But I mean, that's probably down the toilet now. They were a surprise team last season, anyways. Nobody expected the Chiefs to do what they did. So I don't know. They were kind of one of those weird stories. And now with the Johnson injury, and Barry getting, they cut him in the offseason. I think that's what happened, right?
Yeah.
They let him go, and that was a big deal. But like he didn't really play up to expectations last year. So Cody, your thoughts on the Derek Johnson injury? What's this going to do for the Chiefs?
It's awful. This is my the one they draft picked. It was the worst pick, the worst injury for a team of so far in the NFL. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler. He's a captain of the defense. He calls the play, does all the play calling on the field. He's in charge of audibles, all that. I mean, he runs all through him. This is a gigantic blow to their defense, which, last year was rated pretty good, and I think this year had a chance to be rated pretty good. It's kind of like the Colts with Mathis, honestly. But the problem being now is the Chiefs aren't quite as dynamic on offense as the Colts are. So they can't throw up 42 a game and, let somebody else score 38. So it's going to be – I think this is probably the worst thing that happened to the Chiefs. I think they end up missing the playoffs this year probably because of their defense and the lack of their leadership on defense they're not going to have now.
So our last injury is another defensive player. We have Chris Long, the defensive end for the Rams, and he's going to miss 8 to 10 weeks with the ankle surgery. But it's good to know here because I was just actually reading this that he had played 95 straight games.
Yeah, I read that this morning too. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That to me is nuts. I mean, in the NFL, especially for a defensive lineman to go, maybe a lot of them do it. I don't know, but to me, just hearing that stat kind of sounds nuts. Especially when you got 300-pound men going, toe to toe every snap. I mean,
you're in the trenches. Yeah. It's funny because I was trying to explain during when Jason Pierre-Paul got hurt during the Giants-Lions game, and she was like, I didn't even see how he got hurt. She was like, oh, and she saw, he kind of got his own teammate shoved into, or he ran into his own teammate with the shoulder. And, I was explaining to her, playing in the trenches like that, like it's so easy for somebody to just fall on the back of your legs or to collide with somebody and these kind of things do damage. John, your thoughts on Chris Long and the Rams are in trouble, aren't they? I mean, you're talking one of their best defensive players, and they're already missing Sam Bradford.
Yeah, it's too bad too because last season they weren't terrible. I want to say they went 8-8 in a division where third place
Didn't
team
they
went
beat you
10.
twice?
Come again?
Didn't they beat
No,
you
we only
twice?
lost
Did they
3
beat the
games.
Seahawks twice last year?
No, we only
Oh, I thought
lost
they
3
beat you
games
last
all
year. Maybe
season.
last year.
Sorry. Oh yeah, no, and
Oh.
we did lose one at home. We only lost one at home. So sorry, Cody. Nice try.
Anyways.
Champions. Sorry. Talk to me when you make the playoffs. I digress.
Chris Long, let's go.
I think it's terrible for that team. I thought going into the season they would have had a shot to go 10-6, but not now. I mean, not only are they losing a great player that can make plays for them, but they're losing a leader on that team, just like Sam Bradford. They don't have a quarterback now. Who I mean, what is it, Clemens? Who's their quarterback?
Well, it's supposed to be Sean Hill, but he's now questionable for this week too. I just read, so I don't even know who the third string is.
But it's never good when you – I mean, Sean Hill's been a backup for like 8 years.
You love Sean Hill. He's your boy.
I mean, I liked him. He was a great backup in Detroit. I thought he was probably the best backup in the NFL for a portion of time. But he got to play a lot because Stafford's first 2 years in the league where he was injury prone. But, I mean, he's a great guy to have as a backup, but it's never great when your backup has to be handed the torch for an extended period of time or for the season in this case.
And now he's questionable for Sunday. And they don't even know if he's going to play. So I don't even know. I mean,
so your thoughts on Long? Your thoughts on Long, real quick, Cody, and then we'll move into our last thing.
Once Sam Bradford's ACL went down for the second time, their season was over with. It sucks. It sucks they don't really. They're playing for nothing this year. They're playing for a draft pick. I think it's better he just rest up. Probably don't come back in 8 to 10 weeks. But take the year off. And come back next year strong because there's no chance for St. Louis to do much. Not without Bradford, not without Long being out for 8 to 10 weeks. Really. And I don't think it's that big of a blow for them. The biggest blow of the year was obviously Sam Bradford losing his ACL.
Yeah, for sure. So we should note that Long had like 8.5 sacks last year, and the Rams went 7-9. But I do think I did hear a lot of chatter about how they would be much improved this year. They were going to kind of be one of those teams to lump in with maybe like an Arizona as one of the, or the Texans were another one we had talked about, one of those teams who could surprise people. But without Bradford and without Long now, I think that they're probably doomed. So let's get into the last little segment here, and we're going to all pick our predictions for game of the week this week in the NFL. I'm dropping stuff all over here. I'm a mess. So we'll go around the table here, and everybody will pick their matchup of the week. Cody, we'll start with you, man.
My matchup for the week is going to involve the team that had the matchup of the week in week 1, which is the Atlanta Falcons. That was an amazing game in New Orleans versus Cincinnati Bengals. I know everybody's
in Cincinnati, right?
In Cincinnati. I'm pretty sure everybody's really worried about Cincinnati's defense. I think this game's going to be a high-scoring, high-paced game. I think it's just going to go back and forth the way, Matty Ice is playing. There's a lot of athleticism.
Matty Ice!
Julio Jones, A.J. Green. I mean, Matt Ryan, Randy Dalton. I mean, I had to. Anyways, but it's going to be a lot of, Giovanni Bernard, explosive running game there. I think it's going to be just back and forth, 42-40 game. And it's going to be awesome to watch.
And I like both these teams. I just want to note quickly, I have Cincinnati winning the division, and I have the Falcons as a wild card team because I have the Saints winning that division. But who knows now? I mean, they beat the Saints last week. John, your game of the week.
Bears and Niners. I think that's going to be a wonderful game. I think both those teams could either put up a lot of points or they can prevent the other team from putting up any points. Like Cody said, it could be 42-40 or it could be 12-7. I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's in San Fran, so they're opening Levi Stadium, right? And it's Monday Night Football. So
yes, it is in San Fran. It's actually the Sunday night game. The Monday night game is Philly at the Colts.
Oh, that's right.
But it's still a primetime game.
I think it's going to be a great game.
First and foremost, I'd like to say let's go San Fran. Give those Bears a 0-2 hole to climb out of. But this game's kind of interesting too, I think, because everybody was expecting San Fran to fall in week 1 after a poor preseason. Everybody was talking about how they were going to take a step back. They come out, the Cowboys, but they win the game in Dallas. And then the Bears on the opposite end of that, everybody thought they were going to make a lot of noise, maybe win the division this year, and then they lose, sorry, Cody, to the Bills week 1. I mean, in Chicago, let's note that the Bills had never won in Chicago ever before last week, ever, at Soldier Field. My pick is going to be the tonight's game, the Thursday night game, so which means I need to get this editing done rather quickly, or else you guys will be like, oh, you only picked that because it's all the game. I'm going with Pittsburgh at Baltimore. I think both of these teams kind of aren't what they were a few years ago, but they're still the Ravens and the Steelers. They still hate each other. Still a divisional rivalry, probably one of the best in the NFL. And I want to see what Flacco can do at home and the Ravens, how they recover from the Ray Rice catastrophe. You guys have any thoughts about my pick? Cody, you have any thoughts about John's pick?
I like your pick. That was the second pick of mine. Ravens, Steelers, whether they're playoff teams or not playoff teams, always play each other really well. It's always 3-4 point games, 20-19, 19-16, something like that. John's pick, I think you two both went with the defensive teams of the week, good defenses, and I went with the higher stakes. I want to see some athleticism. So I think, all in all, I think they're all really good. It should be 3 good games this week to watch. And go Bills.
You should have picked that Monday night game, Philly and Colts. They had to combine for 80. John, any thoughts on the Bears Baltimore?
Well, I was going to ask you about your pick. Do you think this whole Ray Rice debacle is going to wear on the team? Do you think that plays a factor the way that Baltimore plays tonight?
I do. I mean, I think game plan wise they're fine because they're already game planning to play without Ray Rice this week. But yeah, no, I mean, I think obviously a lot of these guys were friends with Ray Rice. Harbaugh kind of seems like he's going to cry every time he talks about Ray Rice. I don't know if he seems like he's going to cry because he likes the kid that much, or if it's because he knows he kind of got caught with his hand in the cookie jar over this video. But no, I think it's going to cause some turmoil. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to focus a lot because it is the Steelers. They don't like to lose to the Steelers. And if you go down through the list of the games for Baltimore throughout the year, you kind of almost have to figure that they'll split with Pittsburgh. They'll win their home game. Pittsburgh will win their home game. So Baltimore needs to win this game as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I do think it'll weigh on them a little bit. You guys have any final thoughts for this week?
Going to be a great week, and win it for Ralph, Buffalo.
John, your final thought?
Go Seahawks, 16-0. Heard it here first.
I'm just going to say, Hail Megatron. Until next week, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Make sure you head on over to www.sports-kings.com. That's where all of us write our articles, and we're great. And you guys can support us. Make sure you subscribe here on YouTube. Give us a like, leave a comment, and we'll come and interact with you. Until next week, have a great football Sunday.